Hey everyone, welcome to another installment in the First Impression series, a series where I review an album just after one listen, and today we're doing Why Hasn't Everything Already Disappeared by Deerhunter. Now, this is the 8th studio album from this indie rock band. It was released on January 18th, 2019. The album's title is a reference to a posthumously published book of the same name by French philosopher Jean Baudrillard. Bradford Cox, the vocalist who is also responsible for a lot of the different instrumentation on this album, explained that he was less attracted to the content of the book and more the idea of the philosopher who spent his entire career predicting the disappearance of culture, and then on his deathbed realizes it hasn't completely happened during his own lifetime. There is something sad and infinitely melancholy about that. Cox described the title as a beautiful picture frame for the songs he wrote for the album. Now, as with all my reviews, let's talk about the artwork, and remember this has no bearing enjoyment of my overall opinion on the music. This is just something just for fun. The cover features a beautifully drawn sketch of what I think is to be smoke coming out of a factory, and I think it relates to the title meaning of the album by the culture being polluted. That's sort of my own personal interpretation of it. Regardless, I do think it's a 10 out of 10 color just because of how well drawn of a sketch it is. And it is definitely pretty simplistic, and there's definitely a lot of different interpretations you can definitely get from this picture. Or you can just be more direct and just be like, it's just a factory with smoke coming out. Anyways, we're going to get into the music, and we start out with Death in Midsummer. An instrument is panned into the right ear. I'm not exactly sure what instrument it is. Everything comes in full well. The lyrics are good. However, I will say the guitar solo, it's not very good, if I'm going to be completely honest. After that, we get No One Sleeping. The keys sound a bit upbeat here. The moment at 2:45 has a neat little rhythm, though it does drag on for a bit. Actually, no, far too long, actually. Then we get Greenpoint Gothic, retro synth sound, which is really cool. There's a xylophone-like instrument, which is also a nice touch. Guitar pan to the left at points. There's also a lot of different interesting elements throughout this song. It's definitely a strong track. Then we get Element, which there is a gear-like sound throughout the track. It feels like a 60s throwback, and the chorus is catchy. Then we get the title, not the title track, we get What Happens to People. The key and the guitar melody is pretty nice. The lyrics are good, although they are quite dark, and the small build-up works, and the synths are in the background of this track. Determent is the next song, and there's a lot of different elements which makes the song and track feel dynamic. The song has some experimental, trippy atmosphere. This is a quite interesting but very weird song. Then we get Futurism, and what I gotta say about this song is just simply there's a simple accent on the drums, works well for this track. And then we get Tarnung, soft but nice. Like the soft drums combined with the xylophone and the dreamy-like vocals. And again, I will say what hinders this song is the instrumental bit of this track just drags on for far longer than it needs to. Planes. I really like that instrument that plays the percussion, not the drums. It is quite nice. Then we're going to reach the final track here, Nocturne. The main piano melody here gets a bit annoying. Kind of odd. Some of the experimentation, like the sudden vocal cutoff or the vocals like so loud they're just clipping in the mix, do not sound very good. During the instrumental bit, it again just drags on. It seems like it's going to build up and then it drops, and then like by adding in an element, and then it just drops the element immediately and goes to the same repetition pattern for a few measures before the synths come in. Then it builds up. Though the build-up from starting from when the synths come in is far too long. In total, like at least a minute and 30 could have been trimmed off of the song. This is a 6-minute song, and it only needed to be 4:30 long at the maximum. At the minimum. Excuse me. Or whatever, give or take. Sorry. Now for my overall thoughts, this album definitely does have a bit of that late 60s sound, especially of the experimental records of that era, maybe a little bit of early 70s. Lots of parts, especially with the instrumentation or instrumental parts, of this album just drag on for far too long. There is a lot of interesting layers and dynamics on each of the songs. Also, the album is extremely repetitive. I feel like it's trying to go for some like really catchy melodies for stuff that like you can't get out of your head. However, I do not think it works well because one of the other things that goes against this album is a lot of it's actually rather forgettable, if I'm going to be honest. It's one of those things where it's like right after you listen, you probably won't really remember much of what you just heard. It's one of those albums that just goes in one ear and then comes out in the other sort of thing. Though there are some good elements here. Another thing that about this album I didn't like was some of the experimentation. Will really take you out of it, not in the what the heck is this kind of way, not the ooh this sounds weird way, but in the this sounds really bad way. Though there is a bit of good experimentation on this album as well. And also one good thing I'll mention about this album is the lyrics are pretty solid throughout. And overall, I'm going to go ahead and give my score for this album, and I'm going to be giving Why Hasn't Everything Already Disappeared by Deerhunter an overall score of 4 out of 10, giving it a tier of eh. And my two tracks I would recommend from this album are Greenpoint Gothic and What Happens to People. What were your thoughts on Why Hasn't Everything Already Disappeared by Demon Hunter? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I want to thank you for taking your time out to watch this review. And I hope you all have a great day.